So, welcome to the Untangled Podcast. In this episode, this episode is all about mothers in business and the unique experiences that we face as we juggle the roles of building a brand and raising babies, right? Mm-hmm. And it's something I think that we don't talk enough about. It's an extremely challenging task, one that's incredibly rewarding, but one that requires that we juggle many balls and handle many situations all simultaneously.
Yeah.
And we'll get into that because I think as an entrepreneur, we are the group that's unspoken about.
Yes.
We're unseen, I think, sometimes. Our successes and our accolades as we build businesses are often at the front and center of what we do, which is wonderful.
Yeah.
But I think sometimes the, nitty gritty of being a mother, the mum guilt, the raising children, the inspiring children, still having to, cook and send emails, and that whole multitasking vibe that we've got going on as mumtrepreneurs, so to speak, is sometimes, understated. So it's a challenging journey and it's rewarding. So thank you for joining us. Today we have the amazing Scarlett Allen-Horton.
Hyping myself up.
So she first burst on our scenes, or on our screens, I should say, was it 2019, Scarlett?
It was 2019.
Yeah. And Q4, where she was on The Apprentice and got all the way to the finals. Yeah. I think she should have won. And in fact, Alan Sugar also thought that she should have won. And she was offered investment anyway, wasn't you?
Yeah,
so you are in partnership with Alan Sugar at the moment.
I am.
And she's built a formidable and fantastic business.
Okay.
And she's definitely championing for women in business in the Midlands area. So totally inspired by you, Scarlett. I'm absolutely in awe of you and everything that you do. So let's get into it. So we first met in 2022.
Yeah, I think at the Rose Review.
At the Rose Review.
We did.
And I think what compelled me to you and what I think helped develop a natural affinity that I have for you was your childhood experiences, because I think there's similarities in our stories.
Okay.
So can you talk to me a little bit about your childhood and your background, please?
Yeah. Oh my gosh, how long have we got? Thank you for that amazing introduction, and I'm so honoured to be here, Kam, with you. Honestly, I really am. So thank you. So I was brought up in inner city Birmingham. I was raised by my mum, who is amazing, extremely hardworking, extremely matriarchal, and by my auntie. So they were brought up in care.
Yeah.
So there wasn't any elders in our family, and quite honestly, there wasn't really any fathers either. Yeah. So there was us with our mum and my mum and our aunts, and then I was also raised with my uncles who my mum fostered.
Okay.
So like brothers, and with my cousins as well, who were really like siblings. So we were one group of family with lots of different nationalities as well, who were extremely close. And I've got great memories of swimming at Aston Park and going to the carnival in Handsworth, and my cousin going to Chinese school. I mean, it was a very openly cultured family, which I now really embrace, and I realise how important that has been in all of our lives, I think, and huge kudos to my mum and my aunt for that. And I think that's because they were brought up in care. They were extremely sort of embracing and open-minded of everyone. They saw lots of different cultures, and they really brought that through to us. So that was kind of the growing up, I guess. We were brought up, as I said, my mum worked really hard, but I was it was very obvious to me that she worked extremely hard. She was extremely intelligent, and we always had food. But we didn't have lots and lots. In comparison to how hard she worked, we didn't have a huge amount, to be open. And we're a very humble background, but it's hard. I always find that a tricky conversation to navigate, because you want to be really respectful of those that raised you and worked so hard as well. So yeah, that was our situation, but lots of fun.
Can I just ask, how did that experience shape you? Because again, similarly, I was brought up in a single parent household.
Oh yeah.
My mum didn't have a lot at all
Yeah.
In terms of resources,
Yeah.
but she was very resourceful.
Same.
Incredibly resourceful.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of the acumen that I have in my business in terms of being able to make something out of, nothing
water from wine,
to make water from exactly, wine from water, and to build the business to the point that I have without having any working capital really. I put that down to watching my mom and having that resilience. What did you think you gained from that childhood experience?
I totally agree. I think there was two sort of pivotal things. So it was definitely observing my mum exactly the same, and also recognising that these were two women, my mum and my aunt, who were extremely intelligent, extremely resourceful, and extremely capable. But we probably still found ourselves in the same sort of situation. And me thinking, well, they're these really strong women, but actually I can see male counterparts in our lives, and it's not a female and a male thing, but it was just an observation, that were financially or resources wise seem to be, and it's not all about that, but doing so much better. And me thinking, no, I can do this. And I used to think, I can do this, I'm going to go help my mum. I want to do this because I want to go and make sure I can get my mum a house.
Absolutely.
And that was literally the fuel. And then I left home at 16 and I moved into youth supported accommodation. And I would say...
Can we mention the place?
We can. We moved into Trident
House.
Hey!
From Birmingham.
It's the Trident House group.
The Trident House group.
And you know what? In transparency, what happened was I was a cheeky teenager, trying to be cheeky to my mum. One day my mum's like, I've had enough of this. Understandably, goodbye. That was the end of it. And you know what? Off I went, and I'm literally 16. I've got a daughter that's going to be 16, so I find this crazy. Off I went, got my income support. I'm making my way on buses to IKEA to get myself some saucepans. I'm collecting these things. I'm like, I'm going to have the best bedsit in Trident House. And you've heard this story before.
I love this story.
Oh my God. Me and my great friend, I decided I was going to have laminate floor because I thought, listen, if I'm going to be in Trident, it's going to be the best bedsit in Trident. Obviously I had absolutely nothing, like there wasn't food, like nothing at all in terms of resources. Many a days we didn't eat. And I thought, I'm going to get laminate floor. So I managed to save up the money to buy these boxes of laminate floor from the Coventry Road in Small Heath, which is right next to where I was brought up. And me and my friend put it down with a potato peeler around the furniture.
Yeah.
And, I laugh. I've got the scar now, and I look at that scar sometimes and I think, look how far you've come. But you need those experiences, I think, to make you who you are. And I do think it's a case of nurture and nature and some genes, my dad, I don't have really anything much to do with him, unfortunately, but he is a very entrepreneurial person, from my understanding. So I think it's a combination. It must be a bit in the blood as well.
Yeah, well, they say that, don't they? In terms of genetics and stuff, that you do inherit traits 100%. From your parents, which 100%. So bringing it back to something you've just said, you said you were raised in Small Heath.
Yeah.
So quite a deprived area of Birmingham.
Yeah.
And all of some of the complexities that come with being in an area such as that. So high areas of high incidence of unemployment, or underemployment, a lot of crime in the area.
Yeah.
What do you think it was about you, your experience and your determination that set you apart from the experiences that you were accustomed to in terms of the
making some of those
decisions?
Do you know, I have to give that credit back to my mum. I being honest, I have to, but I do think it's my own determination as well. And it's really hard. because, and I talk about this, actually, I'm such an advocate of therapy, and I talk to my therapist about this sometimes. That sounds like, but I think it's so positive to talk about that and say, hey, let's look at some of this trauma, or let's look at some of the cycles that we've done or have or haven't done. And it's hard because my mum and aunt, who effectively are my parents, were brought up in care. The stories they tell can be so extreme that it's difficult, I think, to have a moment in terms of your own story, especially when growing up it was definitely secure in our home, very secure, very stable, very loving. So I was very blessed that I had those elements. But of course, you see other things, and a story that really sticks in my mind, and I know we will all have things like this, but being younger, and I was at my aunt's house, and our next door neighbours, I hope they're not listening, but our next door neighbour, they were having a birthday party, and they were hyped about this birthday party, and we were like, wow, okay. It turned out the birthday party was us and them. And they had literally a Victoria sponge that you'd get from Asda for about literally 99p. We would get them ourselves. And there was the furniture, there was no cushions on the sofa, and there was no other furniture. But they were so excited. There was no other food. I can't explain the excitement, and that always gave me, I think, a great perspective as well. But it made me think, no, we can have more, we can do more, and actually our voices are really important. And I've tried to live authentically in that. Probably for the last 10 years I struggled with that, but for the last 10 years I've really tried to live authentically in that, and now I'm so proud of all of those things.
I mean, I really like the fact that you said that there's a sense of pride, because I'm really proud about my background and my story. I was raised in Aston, so very similar in terms of the demographic, but in addition there was also an issue with gang violence. My aunt lived in Aston as well, so we were back and forth, Crooked Old Queens Road. A lot of things that I seen growing up that most people would have read about in the newspapers. But, as difficult as that experience was when you're going through it, it's almost your norm, if that makes sense.
100%.
You know what I mean? And what it did for me is it really gave me a lot of fuel, as you mentioned earlier, to try and create a different circumstance for myself. So for me, I started working when I was 14 years old. I didn't have a national insurance number, but I found a cleaning job because I wanted to be able to help support my mum in her responsibilities, in paying some of the bills, in caring for my younger siblings. So after school, I'd go for my 2-hour cleaning job every day. And ever since then, I've always worked or created something. And I think that determination has come, specifically from some of the things that I experienced in my childhood. So I think it's really important to also demonstrate that your circumstances can be that fuel that gets you to that next stage in life and helps you to become, the person that you have the capacity to be. So and I see that in you, and I admire you so much.
Same.
So let's talk about motherhood. So how old was you when you became a mum?
So I was pregnant at 19. I had my eldest daughter at 20, and then I had my other daughter, I think 23 or 24. There's 3 years, 10 months between them.
So 20 and 23.
I think 23, I might have been 24, just turned, but I just turned 24 because she's born in December.
24.
Yeah.
And what was that like?
Too young. Too young. I look now, and I've got a daughter that's not far off that age, and I think that, and I don't know why I wanted to be an adult at such a young age, and why I wanted to go and live such an
independence.
Do you know, I think it's circumstance and independence. I think when you were living, and it was with my children's father, and we were both left home young, and you're living what is an adult life as a child. And only now as an actual adult
you can
reflect on that and realise that. And I've loved being a mum, don't get me wrong. And everything I do is for them girls, my 2 daughters. But I would be lying to you if I said to you, and there's much worse things, but if my daughter came and said, Mum, I'm having a baby at 19 or 20, I would be disappointed for her, not for the experience, because I think it's amazing, but because I want her to live some of her own life.
Yeah.
And really only now at this point in my life am I feeling like I have some freedom to do that. I can go to the gym. I can do this, you know, and it's still not
It's
wild,
isn't it?
Yeah,
it is wild going to the gym when you want. It's amazing.
I'll be back. You know, it's kind of like, but it has taken what, you know, 15, 16, nearly 16 years to be able to do that, because I really have, with some support, a lot of support with my mum initially, but really it is us three, you know. And that is so hard when there is no downtime. It's 24/7. There is no children going on weekends and all that. It is 24/7.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Would you say being a mum inspired you to start your business, or do you think you would have done that anyway?
Honestly, I think I would have done that anyway.
Okay.
And that's why I find it interesting, the term
mumtrepreneur.
Oh, I can't even say. Because I think I would have done, in fact, I know I would have done it anyway. Because much like you, I had that ethic. I was the milkman's assistant and I was not playing, and I was like 13, 14 years old too. Same. I went and like pretended I had, national insurance number when I went to go and work at a shoe shop. No. And by the time they'd realised I had it, so it was kind of like it was all okay. So I can relate to that. And no, I think I've really had that drive. However, it has inspired me on two fronts. The first one was flexibility. Because when you're working, things are better now, but when you're working in the world of recruitment, which I have done so, flexibility, children, these things they don't know what this is. I was the first person to ask for flexible working in an organisation that had thousands of people in. That can't, Yeah. Hold on a minute. You know, and we're still young. Do you know what I mean? So, yes, we are.
I'll take it.
So that for sure. And I think secondary to that, the other thing that inspired me was to make really positive change. So I'm very much about purpose, I'm about passion, and I'm about profit. You know, we need the profit because we can't make things happen.
I like that.
So for me, I observed some things. I looked at my children's circumstances. I knew that I've got daughters. I've got daughters of colour. I've got daughters of colour from a single parent home and with a father that went to prison.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, as much as I do not talk in this way to them and would definitely not categorise them in this way, the stats are against them. And absolutely. I'm not playing with that. I'm not playing with that. So we can talk the talk, but we have to walk some walk to make sure that that is changed. And then if I can be someone that can bring some of that positive change and make sure if they want to be a CEO of an organisation, that they are able to do that with the hard work and the talent that it takes to do that, but every single door is open to them, you know, and they walk in pride in terms of who they are and what their circumstances are and all that God created them to be, you know, in my viewpoint. So those are probably the two reasons as to why I launched the business in answer to your question.
So in addition to being that representation for your daughters, because one of the things that really stood out to me the first time that I met you was that you had your youngest daughter with you.
I did.
And whilst you was giving your keynote speech, which was a wonderful, wonderful keynote, I was also looking at your daughter and I was looking at how much admiration she had in her eyes.
That makes me feel emotional.
And I was just thinking to myself, how wonderful is it to see a young, you know, girl of colour, mixed race girl, watching her mum on, you know, the podium delivering this fantastic speech and influencing so many women in the room.
Thank you.
And it's such an incredible thing because for me it sets the tone for her, what she's capable of. And you also make a point of bringing her around people of colour who are excelling to build that racial esteem
100%.
And, you know, that capacity in her, so she knows this is something that's available to me as well.
100%.
And I commend you for that. It's absolutely wonderful. What else do you do as a mom to instill the right values and that go-getter attitude into your children?
I love that. Thank you. I think certainly the things that you've touched upon. I've got a daughter that's older and older than the younger one that you saw. And I think there's this real balance that we have to get of, and I hope I'm okay to say this, but this is a conversation I have with her, of street culture and black culture. Let's not get confused here, you know, because there's a hype and there's a coolness, especially when you're in those teenage years. I'm doing this, I'm doing that. And that's wonderful. But let's understand, as you said, and let's see some phenomenal role models, and some people that are excelling in every single area, you know, and that's what I'm interested in talking to them about, and that's what I'm interested in them being around, and that's what I'm interested in them inspiring, I guess, to be. The second thing is that I've really struggled, as you may or may not have, hopefully not, with mum guilt. You know, it's real. It's not a joke. You are trying to make dinner, then it's 7 o'clock and you're like, oh my gosh, then the laptop's going, then the emails are going, you're trying to balance for everything you're doing for the children, but you needed here, you needed there, you've got this going on. And for a long time I thought, oh my gosh, am I giving them enough? Am I doing enough, just in terms of me and just emotionally, and not, you know, physically, not financially, like the actual things that matter. And now I've tried to change that viewpoint, because I actually see it communicated in my daughters, in that actually, if you're gonna go and run a business, they're probably watching you do, well, they are watching you do that, and they're inspired by that, and you're teaching them by doing that. If you're gonna run with your daughter, my daughter's like, let's go running, mum, you know, she's inspired by that. So I try to think of all of those moments as teaching moments as well, and role model moments, but it's hard. I would be lying to you to say it wasn't.
I mean, going back to the mum guilt, not so long ago, a couple of weeks ago, I was in tears. I was in absolute tears because I'd forgotten parents' evening. And we've all been there. An hour before parents' evening, I remember thinking to myself, right, you've got an hour, get some work done. You've got to log on, because it's all online now. And you've got to, you know, attend parents' evening. And I got so embedded and engrossed in my work that by the time I looked up, I'd missed the time for parents' evening. She's just started year 7. This was the first opportunity for me to speak with her teachers and find out how she's getting on in school. And I was absolutely gutted that I missed it. And that's not the first time. I've missed sports days.
Same.
Same. You know, I've missed days where they've got fancy dress at school and they rock up in their uniform, and then you're having to run to Asda to try and find something quickly. It's so difficult, and the guilt is excruciating. But what has helped me is, you know, when my children see that I'm, you know, feeling this pain of guilt because I've missed something, you know, they say, it's okay, mummy. I know you're busy, mummy. I know you're working hard. And they have that,
and they know you're an incredible mummy. Like you know what I mean.
I'm dedicated, but it's that balance, so isn't it?
It's so hard.
Because sometimes it's that, am I doing enough in either
100%.
field?
It's so hard. It's so hard. I can relate. Thank you for sharing that, first of all, because that's vulnerable. You know, because as women, it feels like our core element is, if you are a mum, is to be this phenomenal mum. And I've no doubt the fact that you were crying shows you are a phenomenal mum, you know. But there's a reason why it does tend to be male CEOs at the top who have caretakers at home that look after children, house and home. There's a reason for that, because it is hard. It is hard. And there are many a time that my daughter's gone into school on the wrong day. We're at the school, hair perfect, summer return. Like, where's everyone? Gosh, I'm so early today. Wow. Okay, nobody's coming. You know, no one's coming. My daughter had a Christmas party last year. I forgot that she needs to wear a different change of clothes. I thought, oh my gosh, I was picking her up from school. She comes out and she's got an elf pyjama set on, which is from her Christmas play. And she said, no, don't worry about it. I told them I like it and this is what I want to wear. I said, that's the kind of, you know, that's what we need. That's the kind of resilience that we need. And we laugh about some of the stories, but the way that I try and deal with it now is, I think when I'm with my daughters, which is lots of the time, I try and be super present. So if we're having dinner together, we're talking truly into their heart and soul, and vice versa. When I'm dropping them to school, we're having those deep conversations, you know, and I feel like there is only so much of me and there is only so much of you know.
And that's the recommendation that I would have to mums watching this, is when you do have that time and create that space, try and be super present.
Agreed.
You know, even if it's 5 minutes of concentrated time of being present with your children is worth so much more than 100%. An hour when you're doing something else. So it's really, really important that you take that time and schedule it. into your diary. I've started to do that.
I love that.
I've actually scheduled time in with my children, which includes the weekends, because to be honest, I work weekends too.
And you try and play catch up ready for the week, and we do date nights. We did a date night on Saturday.
Lovely.
We do date.
You take them for meals.
We do date. Sometimes it might be at home, dependent. But we went for dinner. We're celebrating the 5th anniversary of the business. So so we did that. But no, I totally agree with you. And my and I'm sure your daughter's the same. My daughter communicates that, and she's like, I respect that so much. I see some of the other mums at the school and they're in their gym leggings. Nothing wrong with this, by the way. And they're going to Costa, and that's great. But she's like, but you're doing this, you're doing that, you're doing this. So I think there is this real great role modelling that happens as well.
Do you think that there's a societal pressure on us as women?
I mean, is this a question? Or is this a fact? This is a fact. This is a statement. Of course. Wow, come on, Kam. We need to be the best mothers in the world. We need to be the best lovers. We need to look like a lingerie model for our partners. We also need to be earning our own money. We need to be independent. All the ladies, we need to be married. We need what?
Yeah.
What? Yeah. Oh, you need to look beautiful as well. Oh, you need to look beautiful 24 hours a day as well. Oh, and you need to train. So are you training 5 days a week? Are you counting your macros? I'm sorry. What?
Yeah. How do you navigate that? Because I'll tell you what I've done.
Please tell me.
I think when I kind of was thrusted into the spotlight, because I'm a bit of a hermit, I definitely don't like to be front and centre. It's something that I'm becoming more accustomed to, but I'm an introvert. So appearing on Dragon's Den and suddenly having all eyes on you was, there was an extreme amount of pressure that I was contending with, because it was so unfamiliar for me. I kind of had this closed Instagram account with like all of 50 friends.
I can relate.
And all of a sudden it has to be open, and I have to let people into areas of my life that it's probably a little bit more vulnerable for me to do so. And last 2021, I found that I was waking up at 5 o'clock in the morning. I was going to bed sometimes at 1 o'clock in the morning, so it was literally 4 hours of sleep. The next day I wasn't cognitive at all, but I just kept going, thinking this is the only way that I can possibly build the business and be everything that everyone wants me to be, and try and fit into all of these roles that society has placed on me. And then one day I just thought, you know what? Let me use a different word. Sod this.
Flip this.
I was like, no, I'm going to define for myself what success looks like.
I was just going to say, you like minds. I love that.
I'm going to define that for myself. I'm going to define for myself what being a mom is, and what that role is, and what I want to install in my children, and what I need to be able to do that, but also understanding that I can't pour from an empty cup. I have to prioritize self-care. I have to fill myself up. So now I do take the time to go to the gym.
Beautiful.
Because it's a beautiful moment for me to be alone, to reflect on my thoughts and to work out. I'm an avid reader, so sometimes I'll go upstairs with a book and I'll just curl up and just read the book, because I have to operate from a place of self-satisfaction, because otherwise I'm not giving the best to other areas of my life. And that's for me how I've managed to manage all facets of my role as an individual without feeling consumed by it all. And it might take me a little longer to get there this way, but at least I'll get there with my mental health
and
intact.
Whole. and whole with it. For sure. I can relate to that profoundly, like completely and utterly relate to it. I also think, and I don't know if you can relate to this, there's an element for me that I think when you do come from a certain background, or you've been in certain situations, there can be a scarcity mindset. That comes into play. Where I feel like if I'm not working 18 hours a day, I'm not going to be able to feed my children. Now, factually, I know that's not true. And I have to sometimes say, let's look at the evidence, Scarlett. The fridge is full, or this is okay, we can go and buy the dinner, or we can do this. But I think in that way, and then I feel guilty if I'm not doing that, because then I think if I'm not working, then oh my god, I'm not going to achieve what I need to achieve. And that's where I have to have a conversation with myself sometimes, and I listen to some of my peers, and and some of them, I had a conversation with my old boss the other day, and he said, I've got a lifestyle business, he said, where I do, kudos to him. I work a couple of days a week, Scarlett. I demand X amount of money. I only do this and I only do this, and then I'm with my children. I'm thinking, I'm working 28 days a week. Yeah. 28 hours a day.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, but me and him are probably in a similar position. Yeah. So I think there has to be an element of saying, hey, we've got this. Actually, in them moments of going to train, or in them moments of having some downtime or reading a book or writing or whatever that looks like, some of your greatest ideas come. Honestly, and you're thinking and working in such a smarter way, and really embracing that this is life as well, and we were not born as ambitious as we are, as much as we've got to achieve. We weren't born to work 24 hours a day either. And that is something that I'm really trying to get a better balance of, try to let go of guilt, and trying to inject fun into my life, because it is about having fun and being happy in all of this as well. So
and overcoming that scarcity mindset. It's hard,
very hard.
I don't think I've done it yet.
My friends laugh at me. I have one friend, and he laughs at me, and he's like, Scarlett, you are not in Trident. Calm down, woman. And he says it to me.
Sometimes, my partner has to say to me, Kam, you have to believe in your capacity to make money. You have to. Because for me, there came a time where I wouldn't invest in myself financially unless I could see a return on that investment.
I can relate to that.
So it's like,
you speak to the choir.
What is the return on investment here? And it's like, again, this year I'm starting to spend money on enjoyment.
It's so
I'm not
important.
rich by any means.
But it's so
but I'm okay, and it's getting myself to understand I'm okay. I'm financially okay. And self-investment is really important. Happiness and joy is really important, especially as a mom.
Definitely as a mom.
Especially as a mom.
Even more so. Because everything you give into everyone else. Absolutely. Every day. You know, truthfully.
And then also, once you're happy, you create a happy environment for your children to live in.
Agreed.
So I remember, again, not trying to discredit any of my mom's efforts, but there were times where she was so frustrated and so worked up with all of the things that she was contending with, that I felt like I was walking on eggshells. I felt like I couldn't be my entire self in that environment, because at any moment she could explode.
Because she's so on edge. She's holding so much.
Absolutely.
Same.
She was contending with so much.
Too much, actually. Too much. Same.
Indeed. So, I think as moms, just, if I can say anything about being a working mom or a mom in business, is to please just take that time to kind of, make sure you're self-full. And you're giving to yourself as much as you're giving to other people.
Agreed.
Wonderful. So, a study conducted by Mumtrepreneurs in the UK found that the most challenging things that we experience is time management. We spoke about that earlier, and you said that you work a 28-hour day
and a week.
So how are you with your time management at the moment?
So I just live and breathe my Outlook calendar, and that's changed things.
Okay.
So I look at it on a Sunday evening. I change things if I need to change them in the week, and I'm mapping time as well. As we've talked about, I'm mapping. I know when I'm going to have dinner with the girls. I know when I'm going to train, and I'm going to map it. And Scarlett, I just put Scarlett unavailable. I used to feel like I need to say to my team, I'm just gonna, even though I work, and I've got the most fantastic team, don't get me wrong, but even though for sure I would work all the time because I feel like it's my duty, because it's my business, you know what I mean? But truthfully now, I don't explain it. I just say I'm unavailable.
Boss move,
I'm just unavailable. And they probably don't even notice. No, and I think, and it is okay. It's been so hard for me to think, can I go to the gym after a school run on a Thursday morning, which I tend to do? I'm like, oh my gosh, no, I should be working from 8 o'clock. no, I can. And can I then log on at 11 o'clock properly? I can see my emails, I can see what's happening, don't get me wrong. I'm properly from 11, and then I'll work into the evenings, which I do anyway. Yeah. Has it actually impacted my business in any way in terms of profit, productivity and quality? No. Has it impacted my life? Hugely. You know, so for me, it's all about mapping in the time if you work in that way, and giving yourself whatever that might be in terms of productivity time. Creativeness is so important as well. Movement, you know, all of those core things that we need actually as a human being to function.
Awesome. Thank you for that, Scarlett. It's just some valuable gems that you're dropping there. You have teenage daughters.
I do.
This is a personal question.
Ooh. Oh no. Saying that I've been so personal anyway.
I need some support. How did you manage that transition? Because my daughter is now 12 years old, going on 13. No, sorry, she is 12 going on 13. Sorry, Nylah. And she's also coming into herself now. You know, she's testing the boundaries.
Absolutely.
And we're experiencing the hormonal changes.
She's growing into a woman.
She's growing into a woman.
And it's crazy.
She's transitioning. She's transitioning. How did you manage that?
So that's a brilliant question. Because I left home at 16 and I battled with my mum, who's a wonderful mother, but I battled with her, and it's something we struggled with. I am so passionate about not having that circumstance with my own daughter, because had I probably not had that circumstance with my mum, number one, I wouldn't be where I am today, so I'm grateful. But number two, I probably wouldn't have gone through all the trauma, a lot of the trauma that followed that, if I'm totally transparent with you. And so I have found that my daughter's 15 and a bit, that there has to be some leeway in understanding that she is growing into a young woman, number one. But something we talk about a lot in our household is respect. So we are not playing no games with raising of voices. We are not playing any games with, you know, slamming of doors. And hey, it's happened. Don't get me wrong. You know, we're not playing them games. When we address each other and we speak to each other, even though she might be mad and she might disagree with my boundary, or I might disagree with the way that she's just tried to come to me, we're going to speak in a way that is positive and that is respectful. And if we need a moment, we're going to take a moment, because I'm not playing them games. I'm not having a relationship where I've got screaming and shouting in my house, number one. I'm not having her get into an emotional state that I deem to be unhealthy. And I want her to understand that as she navigates adult relationships, both friendships, personal and romantic, that that's not the way that we need to communicate with each other.
That is such an amazing response. Thank you for that, because it lends itself to the importance of emotional intelligence. And one of my favourite books, which I've brought today, is The Chimp Paradox.
No.
Paradox. You know, and the importance
that monkey brain,
human brain, computer brain, and how you teach your emotional brain to respond to emotional challenges. You know, and it's something again that's kind of brought up in The Power of Now, which is the importance of, you know, looking and observing your emotions, but knowing that you're not the emotion, you're the observer of it.
Because that's when you're really in control
and not react to it. So I think it's fantastic that you're teaching your children that, because it's something that I've started to incorporate with my children, especially my youngest now. And we use the terminology chimp brain, human brain, so that he can understand what's happening.
So positive.
Fantastic. So again, that's a resource that I recommend for mothers out there. Will definitely be
to everybody, and for sure for mothers. Something that I always try and actively do with my eldest daughter is, after I've had therapy, I've learned something, I'm really into the neuroscience, as are you, Kam. You and I connect on that. I try and share all these pieces of information to whatever's, you know, not in terms of anything deep, but what a learn has been, or oh wow, if you're feeling this. She identified the other day, she was like, do you know, I think I might have felt a bit anxious in school. We've never used this term. So I'm like, oh, okay. And then we were talking about that part of her that maybe felt like that, and then what we can maybe go and do and say, hey, what's going on? Let's have a little listen to that part of you. Let's pop them back in, because you're back in control. But let's notice that, exactly as you said. So these really healthy ways of understanding self
Yeah.
and trying to navigate that. But it's not easy. Don't get me wrong. It is not easy. Of course you have moments.
Yeah.
Everyone does, you know.
And again, I think it's just a testament to how brilliant of a woman you are, Scarlett. You are...
Cam, be my wife, Cam.
I will be. Don't take me out in the ring next time I see you. But no, you are a formidable woman.
No.
You are so inspirational, so beautiful. You know, a fantastic role model, not only to your children, but other young girls, I think, that are watching you, that are from similar backgrounds as we are, and that can be inspired by how amazing you've done. You know, you've built this fantastic business, and yeah, you know, I'm
Likewise.
honestly overwhelmed. I'm just so, you know, genuinely impressed with you.
Thank you.
I have so much admiration for you. So with that, thank you so much for being on the Untangled podcast and dropping these amazing gems for our listeners. If they want to know more about you, Scarlett, or our listeners want to engage with you, what's the best way to be in contact?
My website's just about to launch, which will be scarlettlily.com, for keynotes, mentoring, and business is harperfoxpartners.com.
Awesome. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you so much, Kam.